What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. How are you doing? Grab those coffees. We are finally talking about Afflock, baby. It's been a while. I was working on this for a long time. Afflock was probably one of my least played specs across all of them. Like, it's just something I just haven't really picked up a lot. It feels to me, just right off the start, that it's like one of the least intuitive specs to just pick up. If you were picking up like a brand new spec in World of Warcraft and you're like, I wanted to play a dot class. I want to have fun with like throwing a bunch of dots on enemies and watching them blow up. It's like this is the class you should pick, but the barrier to entry in this class, the ease of access on this class, like, it's just so hard to understand at first glance, in my opinion. And maybe I'm just stupid, but it feels like this class is quite difficult to understand conceptually what you're supposed to do on a pack-to-pack basis in like a Mythic Plus environment. So that has prevented me from doing some really good kind of research on this like quickly. So it took me like a couple weeks of just on and off getting a chance to try it here and there to finally be like, okay, I think I have a grasp on what I'm supposed to be doing with this spec. So this is Afflock. This is the second last range DPS that we have. We're going to do Boomkin last, and then I will be done all the range specs, and I'm going to do my tier list for you guys, okay? So that video will be coming in the next couple of days. So, yeah, we're finally there, guys. We finally made it, and there's going to be an announcement on my Discord as well about November 28th when... Oh, there's Twitch, guys. Sorry. On November 28th when... the expansion launches, I'm going to be streaming all day on Twitch. You just heard the Twitch indicator there. So go check out my Discord. There's a link down below in this video. If you're not in the Discord yet, go check that out. There will be a link to telling what I'm doing on November 28th, how long I'm going to be on, the big stream schedule, all that kind of stuff's going to be there. So if you guys want to hang out with me on the launch day for Dragonflight, let's do it, okay? Okay, let's jump into this Afflock video. We're going to talk about the class tree and the spec tree, my build that I ran, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to spend as much time on the class tree because obviously I've had 2 other Warlock videos and I just want to do some highlights really quickly, okay? So, a couple things that are important here that I actually forgot to take. I need to... Oh, I was doing the Drain Life stuff instead. That's right. Yeah. So this is kind of cool with Afflock. So, on this class side for Warlocks, it's always really, really good, right? They have all the Soul Leech buffs that they could want forever now. They have Demon Skin and Fell Armor. You get Burning Rush for more mobility. Plus, you get Fiendish Stride, which reduces the damage you take from Burning Rush, which is such a big quality of life. It really helps you utilize Burning Rush a lot more often. It used to be like, if you would press this button, it felt bad kind of because you're going to lose a lot of health. But now you basically don't lose any health at all. If you take 2 points into Fiendish Stride, you only lose, I think, 1.5% of your maximum health every second, which is basically nothing. So that's really good quality of life. You have, obviously, Demonic Gateway. You've got Demonic Circle, your ability to teleport around. And this is definitely one of the, like, skill expression points for Warlock. Excuse me. You need to be able to utilize Demonic Gateway and Demonic Circle correctly, or else you're really going to struggle with your damage. And you'll see multiple points in the video footage that I have today where I was struggling to get my damage up there because I wasn't using my mobility properly. I was like, there was ground effects that were going to hit me. And I was like, oh my God. I was like panicking instead of just using my mobility because I haven't played Warlock enough to have that muscle memory ingrained. So just know that it's there. You do have tons of extra healing from Drain Life up here. You get Desperate Pact. You can get Grim Feast. You can also get Accrued Vitality. So tons of Drain Life stuff. And on Affliction Warlock, the Drain Life talents are actually quite substantial because you're going to be taking Soul Rod over here in the spec tree. So Soul Rod, of course, puts a dot on enemies, and then for the next 8 seconds, your Drain Life will cause you also to drain life from any enemy affected by Soul Rod. So that'll be 4 targets in total, right? Yeah. So 4 targets in total you can drain life from, and you can buff your drain life over here in the spec side by taking Desperate Pact and Grim Feast. So, it's just another way of sustain. It doesn't do a ton more damage. Like, the stuff you're picking up on the class side isn't about getting you more damage, but draining the life out of 4 enemies and having it heal you for like 30 to 60% more is a crazy amount of sustain that you can get, which is pretty cool. So That is something you can do. There's also a more drain life synergy here. Damaging an enemy with agony increases damage of your next drain life by 7%. Stacks up to 50 times. So that is really the big synergy there. And I haven't really experimented with taking Inevitable Demise too much. I took it in one dungeon run, but it didn't seem like it was that good. But there could be a build here for sure that would work really well. Okay? Lots of sustain. Dark Pact is here, and there's a buff to Dark Pact here, Ichor of Devils, that says Dark Pact sacrifices only 5% of your current health instead of 20% to give you a huge shield. It's insanely good. I should have taken it, I think, on my Afflock, but I was just experimenting with the Drain Life stuff. But Dark Pact is there. Shadow Fury is back. Lots of CC. It's looking really good. Soulburn is here, which I didn't use, but you can experiment with that. Summon Soulkeeper and Inquisitor's Gaze are both fine. I think Soulkeeper is a little bit better, and you just have to learn how to use it. Ultimately, neither one of these abilities does a ton of damage, so don't worry about it too much. Okay? That's the class side. I know I kind of burned through it, but there is a lot of good things here, like Improved Fear, and then there's Banish, of course. You're going to have to pick and choose whatever you need based on whatever Mythic Plus dungeon you're running into and whatever you feel like your team requires from you, okay? But the bottom line for the class side is that you have insane survivability, unending resolve buffs, Dark Pact, crazy drain life buffs, your Soul Leech is going crazy, lots of mobility, you have your CC, you get Burning Rush for more mobility. There's a lot. Like, Warlock has everything. They have the kitchen sink, so wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay. Let's look at the spec side. So, I looked up a bunch of different guides from a bunch of different people. I looked at Kalamazi for sure. Kalamazi. I looked at a couple different builds that people were doing. Generally speaking, people have settled on Dark Lair and Soul Rot as being really big capstone nodes that they want to go down. And Wrath of Consumption is also very, very good. And I would argue in Mythic Plus, you should take Wrath of Consumption over Tormented Crescendo. But I really like Tormented Crescendo. Wrath of Consumption just doesn't show up on the DPS meters when I'm testing it on the dummies because it has to kill. You have to kill something, right? Corruption and Agony each grant an application of Wrath of Consumption. When the target dies, it increases all periodic damage dealt by 3% for 30 seconds, stacking up to 5. So 15% more damage. Very, very good. Wrath of Consumption is a great thing to take in Mythic Plus because you're killing enemies all the time, okay? What I took over here, Tormented Crescendo says, Agony, Corruption, Unstable Affliction are active. When they're all active, your Shadow Bolt has a 30% chance and your Drained Soul has a 20% chance to make your next Malefic Rapture cost no soul shards and cast instantly. I like this a lot because one thing for Afflock right at the outset is that they don't generate soul shards as consistently as the other two specs. They just don't. And it's a really annoying thing for the spec. But basically you've got Agony. Agony sometimes generates one soul shard. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there. Am I pointing there? I'm going to point that way. That's the only thing that gets you soul shards. Unstable Affliction can as well, but it's very inconsistent. Drained Soul can get it, but again, both Unstable Affliction and Drained Soul give you soul shards when the enemy dies. So I want to get soul shards when the enemies are in combat with me, when we're all fighting. So the way to do that is through Agony. That's it. That's how you get it, guys. So this is such an important dot that you must keep up on enemies or else the entire kit doesn't work. And this is the most frustrating part of Afflock for me, is that having to maintain Agony can sometimes just be kind of frustrating. But if you can do it, it's really, really strong. But this Tormented Crescendo makes it so that your Malefic Rapture can be cast instantly with no soul shards. That's a big deal, in my opinion, because there's going to be lots of moments where you don't have any soul shards. Or you're very low on soul shards, or you're constantly you're between 1 and 2 soul shards trying to get them back. So that would be important to me to get free abilities. Now, one thing I do want to say about Malefic Rapture really quickly, I didn't understand what this did at the beginning, because it seems to me like it reads as an AoE ability. So it says your damaging periodic effects erupt on all targets, causing shadow damage per effect. So what I didn't really understand is that this also affects a single target enemy. And the entire playstyle of Affliction Warlock is trying to get as many dots out at the same time as you can, and then detonating them all with Malefic Rapture. That's what you do. So, for example, I'll just show you really quickly here. We'll get into the rotation in a minute, but I just want to show you. So, I'm going to put as many dots out as I can. I'm going to put Seed of Corruption out. That's going to put Corruption on enemies. Then I'm going to do Vile Taint. That's going to put Agony on enemies. Then I'm going to do Soul Rot. That's its own dot. And then I'm going to do Unstable Affliction. Okay. Then I pop Malefic Rapture. Malific Rapture, Malific Rapture, and it's exploding all of my dots. Look at my damage right now. Malific Rapture, boom. That's what it does. So that's how the playstyle works. You get as many dots out at the same time as you possibly can, and then your Malific Rapture will detonate, and it will do more damage based on as many dots as you have out. So I had Agony is 1, Corruption is 2, Vile Taint's 3, Soul Rot's 4, Unstable Affliction is 5, only on the one target. But that's 5 dots that we're all detonating for Malific Rapture. Does that make sense to you? So anytime you can sort of add an additional dot to your rotation, it's not a bad idea to try and do so. As much as you can, because that will increase Malific Rapture's damage. So there are extra dots you can pick up in the tree. For example, Soul Rot is one of them. That's great. That's an extra dot for you. You can pick up Siphon Life, but I would not pick this talent in an AoE situation. This is going to be very, very good for raid bosses. You want to pick up Siphon Life. That's an additional dot. But really, you want Absolute Corruption because it makes your corruption permanent. It makes it do more damage. Okay? That's the playstyle. Get as many dots out as you can. Press Malific Rapture, because that will do more damage based on the dots you have rolling. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, for the talent tree, there's one other way to get soul shards, and that is soul tap. You can sacrifice 8% of your soul leech, which again is just the shield you're getting all the time from demon skin and fell armor. You get this soul leech, right? That's just a passive thing that you're always getting. You can sacrifice some of that to get a shard. I'll do it right now. There we go. I sacrificed about half of it right there. There, now it's all gone. Now, if you can't just keep, it's not saying sacrifice 8% of your current soul leech. It sacrifices 8% of like your total soul leech, which means if you get too low on your soul leech, you can't get a shard from soul tap, which is unfortunate. And of course, the soul shard actually just went away because I wasn't in combat. So I got it right there, but it fell off in a second. So anyway, that's another way you can get it. I actually don't really like soul tap, but I think it's the way to go. If you were to really try and min-max this build, I think this is the way to go. I would almost prefer just to get Inevitable Demise, but that's neither here nor there. That's really, you really should take this because it's quite strong. Okay? I didn't even think about Pandemic. There's probably other talents that I could take that would make it much better. I didn't take Grimoire of Sacrifice because, again, I just didn't really have any room. But this is a build that I was looking at that I think some of the streamers were doing, so I kind of just copy-pasted it, not going to lie. But there are definitely some things that are missing. You know, Pandemic Invocation could be helpful too. But basically, here's how this build works. You get all your dots up, and then you pop Dark Glare. So you're going to go Seed of Corruption into Vile Taint, into Soul Rot, into UA. Actually, you probably want to UA first. UA, Seed of Corruption, Vile Taint, Soul Rot. Then you press your Dark Glare. My Dark Glare has a different icon because I got him tied to a trinket. So that's all. Another thing I want to do. Unstable Affliction. I'm sorry, Affliction Warlock. It's really, really good to get an on-use trinket that you can pop with your Dark Glare because it'll make your Dark Glare do disgusting amounts of damage. So let's get into the rotation. Let me just show it to you here, and then we'll get to the footage. Get all your dots rolling, okay? Then pop your Dark Glare. He will make all your dots extend and do a bunch of extra damage. It's exactly what you want to be doing. Once your Dark Glare kind of ends, you need to go into sort of this drought phase where you're refreshing your agonies over and over and over again because you don't ever want your agonies to fall off. Don't ever let your agonies fall off. If you let them fall off, you will be ruined, okay? Here's how this works. Seed of Corruption into UA, into Vile Taint, into Soul Rot, into Dark Glare, and then we're spamming Malific Rapture, Malific Rapture, Malific Rapture, Malific Rapture, okay? Then we're doing Drain Soul as a filler. Drain Soul is our filler, okay? Then we're doing Malific Rapture again whenever we get a Soul Shard. Now, we're getting close to our agonies falling off, so now we need to refresh Agony right now. Agony, tab target, Agony, tab target, Agony, tab target, Agony. Okay, we got them all back. I'm going to refresh Unstable Affliction, and then we're going, once again, Malific Rapture. Malific Rapture. We don't have to do Seed of Corruption anymore because our corruption is permanent. It'll stay up there permanently. I'm going to put one over there just to make sure it's there. There, Seed of Corruption, Soul Rot once again. Make sure as many dots are on the enemies as possible before you press Malific Rapture, because that will make your Malific Rapture do more damage. My Unstable Affliction's falling off. Okay, now our agonies are falling. Let's go Agony again. Agony again. Agony again. Agony one more time. One more Agony over here. Of course, Unstable Affliction, and then we're going to do Malific Rapture. Malific Rapture. Malefic Rapture. Boom, boom, boom. You can see we're maintaining 100k right now. Okay? Now we've got Vile Taint. Vile Taint will refresh all of our agonies, thank God, because I don't want to have to keep pressing them every time. So there we go. Soul Rot's back. Let's do Soul Rot here into Malefic Rapture. Malefic Rapture. And then we fill with Drain Soul. This is the entire rotation right here, guys. So it's not too complicated once you kind of get the feel for it. That's the damage right there. Okay? Let me run out and we'll look at the damage. So Malefic Rapture is our top damage, of course. Dark Glare is way up there. So that's what happens with our Dark Glare. We take this ability called Grim Reach. When Dark Glare deals damage, it does 50% of that damage to all enemies affected by your damage over time. That's, of course, all those enemies there. And the Dark Glare, of course, he extends all your dots, and then he does damage, and it's increased. The damage that he does is increased by 15% for every damage over time effect you have active on any target. Okay? Again, this is exactly how Afflock wants to play. You want to have as many dots up on as many targets as possible, okay? You're going to see it'll look like this. Malefic Rapture is going to be first, then Agony. In fact, on a Mythic Plus, you're actually going to see some different... I wonder if it'll show it here. This is going to be all on dummies. You're going to see on a detonation ability called Soul... Is it here? There we go. Soul Flame is also going to be part of your damage. This is not being represented right now on the dummies because nothing is dying. Soul Flame simply says it deals damage to enemies that you kill, and it's right here. When you kill a target, its soul bursts into flames, dealing Shadow Flame damage to nearby enemies. So this ends up being a ridiculous amount of your damage. I think I actually have... It would be... Not Veximus Trash. No, that was my other guy. I'm trying to find it here. Unknown Trash. Anyway, I'll show you in the video in a second once we get to it. There it is. So here we go. Soul Flame did 17, almost 18% of my damage here. Just Soul Flame. Just this talent, guys. Because that's how it works. When enemies die with your damage over time on them, they will detonate. So just remember, we're missing part of that damage right now in our current segment, even though we still did 84k over time. So this actually does a lot of damage, but you must do it correctly, or else you end up just, everything ends up going to shit. Like, if you do this wrong, if you mess this up, or if you get interrupted while trying to do your rotation, it's completely screwed. So one more time, just remember, you want to go Seed of Corruption into Unstable Affliction, or you can do it the other way. Go Unstable Affliction into Seed of Corruption, into Vile Taint, into Soul Rot. Again, you're just getting all your dots up, and then you pop your Dark Glare, okay? So it's going to look something like this. Let me just show you. There we go. Soul Rot, and then we go Dark Glare. Then we go Malefic Rapture, Malefic Rapture. I'm going to use my Drain Soul. There's the big Drain Soul from Soul Rot. I forgot to do that last time. Then we're doing Malefic Rapture, Malefic Rapture. You can see the damage is perfectly fine. Love the damage here. And then remember, now that we've used all Malefic, we're in the drought phase. Let's refresh our Agony. Agony, 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 Agony. Don't forget about the second phase of how Afflock works. You get one nice big phase where you're doing tons of damage. You don't have to worry about your dots, but then about 10, 12 seconds in, you need to think seriously about where your dots are at, and you need to make sure that you are refreshing your Agony. That's the main thing you have to refresh. If you don't refresh it, you will literally lose all of your damage, and you will lose all of your soul shard generation, and you're going to hate yourself. So, there's Dark Glare. Look at that. Make sure you are refreshing Agony. Let's get to the VOD, and let's look at the... I wanted to say that just a million times because that's what I kept messing up. I kept doing that really, really poorly, and it ended up costing me big time. So, just remember to refresh your Agony. Really important stuff there. Okay. Just shrink this a little bit. There we go. Make it the same. So this is a really good example at the beginning here of when I get interrupted trying to do damage. I'm doing about 70k right now, which is actually fine. I get up to 93k. It's really good, but then I get interrupted over and over and over again, and I can't keep doing my damage. I keep having to move around. I've got Burning Rush going like an idiot, but I'm trying to just like do the rotation, and this is something I really noticed on Afflock was like, if you get interrupted while trying to do your rotation, it is so incredibly frustrating. It's got to be the most frustrating range DPS I've ever played when you get interrupted trying to do your rotation. There's other range DPS guys who like hunters, like Marksman Hunter, or no, even BM Hunter, where it's like you can move and shoot at the same time, and you can ignore mechanics. Like, literally, you can just ignore everything, basically, and continue to do tons and tons of damage. It doesn't matter. Afflock's a little bit different. You have to be careful. Which means you have to utilize your things like your mobility have to be utilized really, really carefully. And I didn't do a very good job of that. So that's a big indictment on me, is that if you're a Warlock main, I'm sure you're going to use things like your circle of your teleport, right? And then your gates are going to be used in a much better way than I am. Here's a really good moment in the dungeon, though, and we're going to listen to my past self. Here we go. Watch the damage here. Here we go. I've done all my combos. I'm doing Seed of Corruption, and then boom, I'm getting my Malific Rapture. Malefic.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
That's the oh boy moment. We got to 190k. We almost got to 200k.
Oh boy, we're doing it.
Oh man, everything fell off. That was pretty cool though. That was a moment right there. Yeah, that was a really good moment. So these are the kinds of moments you can pull off as an Affliction Lock. When you have all your cooldowns ready to go, including Dark Glare, and you do the combo that I showed you on the dummies there, it is insanely strong. It is insanely strong. If I was a better Warlock player, I could have probably done like 200k DPS, over 200k DPS. I'm sure of it. I would have been able to do that much. So just know, guys, that is something that is very, very, this class is very capable of getting to those kinds of numbers. Absolutely not an issue whatsoever. So let's go to 223.35. 223. So here's a moment where we have smaller packs of AoE. So we just saw a big AoE pack where we had like 10 mobs or more. This has only got 4 mobs in it. So it's important to understand like the DPS profile on all these different counts, right? Single target, small cleave, big AoE. What are we looking at there? So this is your this is kind of your small cleave damage, and it's actually very close to a lot of the other classes that I've played. It's not nowhere near the best. It's not the best by any means, but it still keeps up. Afflock can keep up in the damage department if you play it correctly. So just wanted to make sure I showed you guys that. Let's go back to the tree boss, 228.30. We're going to do him in a second. We ended up wiping on him a couple times, so this is a really good fight for us, the tree boss fight. Again, single target I really struggled on. Early on in these keys, I didn't understand how to do the single target rotation like at all. It was really bad. So I got much better at it over the course of the couple of the dungeons that I ran. Here comes Germinate. So we're gonna get our AoE. I'm banking soul shards right now. You can see I haven't spent any soul shards at all, and that's because I'm gonna do a huge Malefic Rapture combo. Watch this. So we go Unstable Affliction, Seed of Corruption, Vile Taint, Soul Rod. I do everything there, and boom, we get our damage in. Then I start spamming. Now, everybody else in the group was spread out too much, and my dots didn't reach everything. That was really frustrating. So if our group had clumped up closer together towards the tank, I would have been able to spread all of my dots to everybody, and I would have been able to do way more. I would have been like over 100k DPS for sure. But unfortunately, everybody was kind of spread, and it screwed me up. So, but here we go. Another AoE combo, Seed of Corruption. Waiting for Vile Taint. Here's Vile Taint right here, I think. Oh, no, I'm just dying. I try to stun everybody. There we go. Malefic Rapture. Big damage. Big damage. We're almost at 90k. Like, we're doing fine. Don't get me wrong, guys. We are doing absolutely fine here. This is okay. Getting 100k DPS on this boss fight is actually quite strong. I think I took some damage there. Here comes big damage here. Over 100k. There we go. So I'm learning how to do this a little bit better. And I know you Warlock mains at home, you guys are going to do that way better than me. But you can see, look at the Soul Flame. Just on the boss fight, it was insane, dude. I'll show it in a second. I went back too far. Did I not look at it? Hello? There we go. 30% of our damage was just from all the ads detonating when they died. So cool. Very, very cool. Okay, let's go to 233.03. I'm going to show you another problem with Afflock here. So, again, getting interrupted while you're trying to do your rotation will ruin your damage. It's so frustrating. And your positional requirements, watch this. I get stunned right here because I'm an idiot and I forgot that I had the affix on me. And then my damage is just like, I do literally 0 damage here. So annoying. Man, my damage! I got interrupted. So this is just something you have to watch out for when you're playing Afflock. More so than any other spec in the game, you need to be very, very careful about your damage. You need to make sure that you're positioned in the right spot. Get your positioning right, or else you're not going to do any damage, as Hero's telling me to do damage right there. Let's go to the final pack here, 238.15. Let's go here. We'll wrap this up, guys. Last pack into the last boss. Here's another big AoE pull, which is awesome. I'm getting my stuff at Seed of Corruption right now into Malific Rapture. Malific Rapture. I already have my other stuff. I get some Soul Rot going on here in a second, I'm sure. Seed into Soul Rot. Here we go. And, yeah, like, Affliction Warlock's AoE damage is actually very, very good. I have to work on their single target damage. I do fairly okay on this last boss. It's not bad at all, but it could be much, much better. So the AoE damage is actually very strong. You just have to get ramping, and you have to do it correctly. If you mess up how you're doing it, it's so unforgiving. I think this is the most unforgiving class in the entire game. Spec, sorry. Most unforgiving spec in the entire game. That would be my sort of synopsis on this, is that if you screw up any part of the Afflock rotation, you are in so much trouble. It's just... Oh, it feels so bad. Like, there were so many moments in these dungeons where I was like, I feel like an idiot. So, what do I think about Affliction Warlock? I think it's actually okay. I don't think it's certainly the best range spec by any means, but I do think it's actually good. You have a couple of cooldowns that you're a little bit more reliant on. Things like Dark Glare, for example. You really are reliant on that big Dark Glare window, and if you get it, you end up doing a ton of damage. But again, if you screw up in your Dark Glare window, or you get stunned for 5 seconds in your Dark Glare window from the seasonal affix, you're screwed, man. You've lost like just probably 1,000,000 damage right there. Just straight up, you're gonna lose so much damage. So you have to be very, very careful about your positioning. You have to be very, very careful about where you're standing, using your teleport. Like you just saw me use that teleport there. Finally, I did it correctly. Use your gates correctly. Use all of the tools that you have at your disposal. Otherwise, you're going to be very frustrated about your damage profile. Other than that, though, getting your dots rolling in an AoE situation is very easy. Your corruption can be spread by Seed of Corruption onto all the enemies nearby. Vile Taint will spread your agony to all nearby enemies. So you remember the big AoE combo: Seed of Corruption, Unstable Affliction, Vile Taint, Soul Rot. Then you pop your Dark Glare. He's going to extend all your dots. He's going to do more damage because you have a bunch of dots. And then you're just going to spam Malific Rapture. It's going to do more damage because you have all your dots out. That's how it works. So that part makes sense to me, but remember, that's like phase 1. Once you're done that kind of Malefic Rapture spam, and you're kind of all out of it, you can you need to refresh your agony. Remember, about 12 seconds or so after you cast your first set of agonies, you're going to need to manually refresh them all, and that can be maybe the most frustrating part of this spec. But if you do it correctly, it will reward you, and you will do lots of damage. So that's Affliction Warlock, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I actually enjoyed it finally once I figured out what I was doing, and the damage was okay. I think I could have done way more damage, and if you were a Warlock main, I'm sure you would do more damage to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, especially you guys who play Affliction Warlock. What do you think about my entire dungeon run here, about what I'm talking about with the talent tree? Are there other talents that you would have taken that I didn't take in my talent tree? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.